Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to season 4 and episode 500 and
60.
60 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Cryo Media Network. Yeah. Today, recording day is Thursday, January 16th, 2025. Still a kind of day here at the Beaver Lodge, but that's okay because we bring the sunshine. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A, and with me is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly, and I'm very, very happy to see him. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. Mr. Grizzly, good sir, how is your mental health doing today?
I didn't sleep well, so not great at the moment.
Oh no, not again.
Yeah, just terrible insomnia. I'm about to, I'm at that stage where it's like, okay, let's do the elimination diet, Let's start cutting food and drink and certain things out of my diet to see. I'll just get right down to the most basic necessities and see what is causing it, because literally food allergies have ways of rearing their ugly head that we don't always understand. So I think it might be something to that effect. So it's like, okay, let's, I'm going to cut back on coffee. I'm going to eliminate alcohol in all forms. Sugar is easy to cut out because I don't really imbibe. So yeah, any sort of processed foods at all, I'm going to cut all those out. And really, processed foods for me would be potato chips. That's about it. That's my weakness. I don't really eat processed foods, so time to do the elimination diet and see if what makes the difference.
Okay, I could see that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do have a doctor. Argosi Acres is asking. I do have a doctor. I'm going to reach out to him today to say, listen, I'm not sleeping. What can we do? I said, I'm going to do this. What else do you suggest? Before I go the medication route, because I would prefer not to go the medication route, because although you can take medication that will help you fall asleep and stay asleep, everything I've ever tried, I wake up groggy, zombie-like, and I don't care for that. I don't think anybody cares for that, really. I mean,
same here. That's one of my very terrible insomnia, and it was the same thing. They prescribed something at one point, and it's like every morning. It's like even though I woke up at 8, the rest of me didn't wake up until 1 in the afternoon, and it was just this weird, foggy, hazy sort of weight thing where, like, normally when I wake up in the morning and I'm groggy, I can still will myself to do stuff. This was just like, it's like in a half sort of dream state, and just and nothing happened. Those hours were just gone. of the day. So that, yeah, I didn't like that either. It was weird. So melatonin helped. So of course you can't take that all the time. You got to take some breaks and stuff. When you do that, you can't just take one every night, I don't think, after a while. But on occasion, after it's been two bad nights, melatonin usually helps and resets me back. So, but yeah, I feel you because it's like, that book. Yeah, he's just not that into you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like my relationship with sleep. I'm courting it with flowers and chocolates and taking out to fancy dinners, and sleep's like, it's like, not really. No, not you. It's like, but baby, I love you. All right. Kits and cubs. Ooh, okay. We had a day yesterday, and we had drama. How would I put it? For a reason that's ultimately not surprising, but I don't think anybody saw it coming.
Mm.
So, and the person from whom it came is also not surprising. But yesterday, the prime minister, I think for the first time in about 10 years, sat around a table with all the premiers. Now, there's an asterisk with that one. It's all the premiers except two who weren't there for various reasons. Now, the two that weren't there were the Premier of British Columbia, David Eby, who was doing some work-related stuff. And the other one was Alberta's Danielle Smith, who did not see fit to come back from her vacation and her 2-day stint at Mar-a-Lago before going to spend 6 days in D.C. for the inauguration festivities because, of course, Queen Dani can't afford to miss a good party now, can she? And nothing is too good when the Alberta taxpayer is footing the bill. So, not sure about the vacation part at Mar-a-Lago, how much of the bill the taxpayer footed, but the inaugural stuff, that's for sure. And she decided to literally phone it in.
Yeah.
And I find this particularly ironic because I'm old enough to remember, it was maybe a few days ago or weeks ago, when a young lady whose address in Toronto I found by accident by looking up on the phone thing, Miss Taylor Swift, when she was in a town. I believe that a certain leader of a nation was at a concert with at least one of their children, and there was a little something that happened in Montreal, and people were saying that the country is burning and how incredibly terrible and awful and a lack of leadership it was that the prime minister was at a concert that was starting after any disruption was over, and we have police for that and all that kind of stuff. But never mind. The prime minister should have hopped on a plane and come to Montreal, and the riot would have been done by the time he did. But should have come to Montreal and done something. Do something.
It's bullshit outrage.
Right? Perform for us. Right?
Dance, monkey dance.
But then we, at the moment where we actually literally have an existential threat to our country, a man talking about forced annexation, and then all the media minions like, Jesse Shallow Waters deciding that he's taking personal offense and that he needs some personal apology to him because, what do you mean you don't want to be American? Well, okay, what if Canada said, hey, we're going to climb all on top all over you, and hey, why are you resisting? I'm feeling insulted. You should be honored that I want to just climb topple over you and take you over. Would you like that? Oh, okay. So you live in a world where you cannot possibly understand that somebody that lives in another nation could be just as proud as being who they are as you are of being an American. Like, this is a concept that's foreign to you, right? Okay. And they're entertaining this. right? These premiers are going on these shows and they are entertaining this. If you're going on a Jen Psaki thing, if you're going on Meet the Press, that's one thing. But when you're going on a Fox Jesse Waters type show where he's going to stand there and he's going to do this bit and you're basically a player in propaganda TV, it's like, you don't go do these shows. Well, she likes doing these shows. So we have a guy that's talking about forced economic union. And she couldn't get her soft, delicate, tender tushy off the skybox seats to come home for that. All the other premiers are in the room except one that had some actual specific work-related duties. She's just buying some time in between the Mar-a-Lago thing and the inauguration stuff that she was going to do anyway. She could have come home. For this, she could have come home, but she phoned it in. And apparently there was a reason that was the case. So she is out there and she is talking and she says that, the meeting was very constructive and all that type of stuff. So, she's playing all this. But there's a but. And we will get to that. But the Prime Minister and the 12 others, including Mr. Eby, who couldn't be there physically, but still participated in the meeting, according to Davis Legree of iPolitics. They met face-to-face for the first time in nearly a decade to discuss a response to potential tariffs from the U.S., and there was a clear consensus among the group: nobody wants tariffs. But beyond that, it becomes a little unclear. Despite the united front presented by Trudeau and attending premiers, and then it says here about Smith and Eby appearing virtually on Wednesday, there was no clear agreement on how Canada should address the U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's proposed 25% blanket tariff on Canadian goods, which seems is coming into effect, and it will indeed be on everything, based on what Danielle Smith so helpfully went to Mar-a-Lago for 2 days to be able to report back to us. The joint communique published after the meeting vowed to continue, quote, united advocacy efforts with key U.S. administration, congressional, and business leaders to emphasize the negative impacts of U.S. tariffs, but stop short of committing to specific retaliatory measures like countervailing tariffs or withholding energy resources. Trudeau, no, they're just saying Trudeau now, not Prime Minister. Okay. Prime Minister Trudeau said he was supportive of the principle of a proportional dollar-for-dollar response, which would be normal because that's what we did last time, while Ontario Premier Doug Ford has publicly suggested Canada should consider shutting off energy exports to the U.S., though that idea has been divisive among his First Minister colleagues. Alberta did not sign the final communique. Let me repeat that.
Interesting.
Alberta did not sign the communique. Now, I believe yesterday I showed you a picture of the souvenir that Danny brought back from Mar-a-Lago. I went to Mar-a-Lago and all I got was this lousy quid pro quo. They said she went to Mar-a-Lago and came back with nothing but perhaps a tan, a pat on the head, and perhaps a loyalty mission?
Perhaps. We don't know. But in all likelihood, yes.
There's a meeting of all 13 premiers and whatnot, and she goes rogue.
Well, of course she would.
She does not sign the communique. What a wonderful way to let someone who you just spent 2 days with, while smooching their tushy.
See,
to show that, hey, Donald, I'm with you, Daddy.
Daniel
I'm not with them. I'm with you.
She doesn't care about Canada. All she wants to do is further her oil baron puppet master's interests. That is it.
She wants to be a star on Fox.
She doesn't care about Canada. Look, as corrupt and as crooked as Doug Ford is, he does care about this country.
He wants to be Canadian. Well,
he wants Republican.
He wants to be a Republican Canadian, but he wants to be a Canadian.
Yes.
She just wants to be this again. She's auditioning for American Idol, baby.
Oh yeah.
She's auditioning for it. She wants to be a star. Media's her thing.
Mm-hmm.
She would love an anchor job on Fox.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, Alberta did not sign the final communique because, as Smith wrote on social media, quote, federal government officials continue to publicly and privately float the idea of cutting off energy supply to the U.S. and imposing export tariffs on Alberta energy and other products to the United States. Quote, until these threats cease, Alberta will not be able to fully support the federal government's plan in dealing with the threatened tariffs, she wrote. Alberta will simply not agree to export tariffs on our energy or other products, nor do we support a ban on exports of these same products. So basically, what deadbeat Danny is saying here is Canada, I'm fully prepared to be a full participant on Team Canada so long as all of you sacrifice your things first and agree not to touch mine.
Mm.
Then I'm with you. Otherwise, no. Now, the prime minister's at this meeting and all the other premiers are at this meeting saying, it's like we are aware that if it comes to this, there are going to be some consequences for different regions and for different sectors. And we do plan to take the money that we are going to charge in retaliatory tariffs and use that to compensate people in either these regions or these sectors if they are particularly adversely hit. But we're trying to spread it out through the entire country so not that one region or one sector is particularly hit. So in other words, all the premiers are agreeing that everybody's going to have to take a little bit of a hit, and they're doing the best that they can to spread it around. And then you got Danny saying, yeah, but when it comes to our number one export to the United States, you're not going to touch that, right? The thing they need the most, energy, the thing that, yes, they could probably become self-sufficient, but not for another 5 or 6 years or maybe 10. Because it's going to hurt in the meantime. Like that thing that we're going to take off the table as a nation when somebody says that they want to economically annex us. Her position is our biggest weapon in the toolbox. We can't use that. Anything but that.
She's just a shit.
What is the word for someone who seems to put the priorities of a nation other than her own ahead of the priorities of our nation?
I have
What was the word for someone who's appears to swear allegiance to something other than their nation's constitution, flag, or
Traitor.
people?
Traitor.
Because she's either sworn allegiance to him or she's sworn allegiance to oil.
Well, it certainly
because right now she's not even swearing allegiance to Albertans or even the UCP.
No. She's an opportunist. That's it. That's all she's ever been. She will take advantage of any situation that will benefit her and her puppet masters. That's it.
UCP
and
members.
What's sad is that the great people of the province of Alberta failed to see this. The majority failed to see this because they elected her.
UCP members will just give her 91.5. Feeling had yet? Alberta voters, feeling had yet?
And let's remember, there is a certain percentage of the population of the province of Alberta that want to exit the country. They want to separate. And they think they can do it because they are ill-informed. They think they can do it. They don't seem to understand that they're on treaty lands, number one. Number two, that they need all of the provinces to agree on letting them go. Number three, they'd have to negotiate with all the tribal members to see what kind of land they could actually get. Number four, they need permission from the Crown because they're on treaty land. And that's not about to happen. So you have a certain percentage of the population of the province of Alberta who are completely deluded into thinking they can just do whatever they want. We're going to take this oil, and actually the oil doesn't belong to you. Mineral rights are provincial and federal, not people. And you need to understand that you are on treaty territory. All of Alberta is treaty territory. And for those of you who seem to forget, I'm going to put the map up right now and look at all the numbered treaties. All 100% of Alberta, 100% of Saskatchewan, 100% of Manitoba, and I'd say about 75% of Ontario, and maybe 25% of British Columbia. Almost all of the Northwest Territories is treaty territory.
And in British Columbia, more of that is treaty territory. Some of them are just modern treaties.
Correct. These are the traditional numbered treaties from, almost, in some cases, over 100 years ago.
Yeah. So, yeah. The premiers and the government did not list out loud the items that they're going to put on the retaliatory list for strategic purposes. They're really taking the position of, we're preparing, we have a list, we're ready to go, but let's see what he does before. Because our preferred approach is that there be no tariffs. So we're going to work towards a preferred approach, but we will have this. Now, there's no reason to suspect that the list would be radically different than what we did last time. Some Kentucky bourbon, playing cards, that type of stuff. The government tries to to put those one-for-one tariffs on U.S. products that come from regions that have some senators and governors who may have some sway, like Senator Mitch McConnell, for example. Kentucky bourbon. And they try to do it on things that Canadians can easily get somewhere else. So if you don't want to get Kentucky bourbon, well, you can get bourbon from somewhere else, and then you don't get affected by the tariffs. So the product is just not sold.
Well, there's another problem. There's another problem there too that you might not be aware of when it comes to Tennessee whiskey and Kentucky bourbon. Is they're shutting down the coopers.
Ooh, yes, I heard that.
They're not. That's it. They're shutting down barrel manufacturing to save money, and I'm like, well, that's a problem. That's a huge problem. Because you do realize that every whiskey distillery in the world buys those barrels. Like if you get Irish whiskey, Scotch whiskey, Canadian whiskey, rye whiskey, all of the barrels that it is aged in is purchased from the United States of America, Tennessee, and Kentucky bourbon and whiskey manufacturers. Because they're for bourbon, to legally be bourbon, it can be used in a virgin oak barrel. Once it's aged for 1 year, and then they have to sell the barrel off. Same thing with Tennessee whiskey. That's the law. So now they're shutting down the coopersmiths, the barrel manufacturers. That's it. They're done. They're shutting it down to save money. Well, what the hell is that going to do to every distillery around the world? Are they going to have to start making their own barrels? This creates a bigger problem than many people seem to realize.
Oh yeah, and a whole bunch of little industries, and little industries, big industries, but it's not like it's not just tech and autos. It's all the way down the list, right? Everything. There's a whole bunch of other jobs that depend on not the big usual suspects that we talk about all the time.
Yeah, there's problems.
So
we're in for a global reckoning when it comes to economies. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's not good.
So we have a situation here. It says, where everybody seems to be agreeing that we're going to be taking a little pain, except one person. They've got a strategy. They're working it out. Yeah, the other stuff, the border plan that Doug Ford turned around and said, "Oh my God, that's phenomenal. It's such a solid plan." A couple of minutes after saying, the government needs to get his act together. That's the Jagmeet Singh thing. I guess taking something that is going to happen in about a week or two, because you got the insight because you worked on it so much, and then going to a microphone about a week before or 2 weeks before and saying, "We really need to get this done. There's so much action. Oh my God, it's so important." like this, and then it happens because you knew it was eventually going to happen, and then you go back after that and says, it's a good thing I came out 2 weeks before to put some pressure on to make this happen, or else if it wasn't for me, right? It's a common thing. So that's what Doug Ford was doing. Federal government needs to get its act together, like the federal government wasn't. It's like, did you not notice a couple of days ago that the Minister of Finance decided not to run for leadership because they're on it, Doug. They're on it. So we have a good plan, and we have the border plan. Danielle Smith is not on it. Now, Premier Scott Moe is not particularly enamored with the idea of export tariffs either. But he signed the deal, the communique. David Eby, even though he wasn't there, signed the communique. Danielle Smith wasn't there and did not sign the communique. Someone is picking a side. Someone has chosen a side. And they have not chosen us.
Clearly.
And that is a problem. So, on this show, I say our premiers are the problem. And they are still.
Are.
But we have one who's a particularly concerning problem at the moment. One who has actively said and sent the message to us that she is not one of us. That's a problem.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see how that pans out. So, Danielle Smith, her proposed solution is, instead of retaliatory measures, including cutting off oil and gas to the U.S., why not focus on the concerns that Trump has raised? Well, we just did that, boo-boo kitty. We threw $1.3 billion. We're announcing choppers and a whole bunch of stuff. And Trump's just basically said, I don't care. That's not good enough. That doesn't meet my expectations, because he doesn't actually say what his expectations are, right? He says that we got a problem. So then you all jump to try to fix the problem. And what do you think the negotiator of that follows the strategy of destabilize everybody is going to say? Oh, it's nice that you danced for me for the last 3 weeks and decided to spend all that money on stuff to appease me rather than on stuff for yourself. I'm interested in seeing how much more you would like to spend on that. So, no, I'm not impressed by that. What were the odds that was going to happen? You're not very bright.
She's not on Team Canada. She's not for this country. She's for herself and her oil baron oligarchs, who are the puppet masters of Danielle Smith. That is it. She has kowtowed and bowed down to kiss the ring, to the point where Midas Touch is calling her out on it. I have a video clip.
Yep, we will put that then. Well, yes, absolutely. So she is sitting there and saying, well, why don't we address his concerns? Okay, number one, his concerns are usually not concerns. They are things he claims he is concerned about. Correct. In order to get people destabilized and take some actions. And then once you take some actions, then he tries to see how much he can get from you. And that's before the negotiation starts. That's what he does. He knows the United States can pretty much damage anyone if they really want to.
Yes.
And he uses that. I'm going to come up with a 25% tariff. Oh my God, 25% tariff, 25%. Do something. And he's sitting there and he's laughing and eating, munching on popcorn, sipping on Diet Coke and eating a cheeseburger.
Not sworn in yet. We need to shut up. Like, we need to do what the Mexican President Sheinbaum has done. Shut up and deal with it when it's time to deal with it. He's not in power. So she's saying, let's validate that which he claims are his concerns when the guy lies like a rug. Let's try to appease him. Let's take a second. He's a gaping hole of insatiable want and need. You have to validate him every 30 frickin' seconds. That cannot be your position, Danielle Smith. If you don't bow down to kiss his ring constantly, he's going to hate you.
And
He
he's never
demands total
satisfied.
loyalty. He
And
demands
it's a
total
one-way
loyalty.
street.
When James Comey was head of the FBI, he was called into a meeting with Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And Trump said to him, I demand total loyalty. And Comey said, I will be loyal to the U.S. Constitution. He says, that's exactly what I want, total loyalty. Trump only hears what he wants to hear.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Trump is the type of guy, if you come up to him and says, I think you're pretty stupid. Oh, I heard the pretty part.
Yeah, literally, that's it. That is it.
He said I'm pretty.
Well, and
that'll be Trump.
let's add insult to injury, if we will. His cult of followers are so deluded and think that he is the be-all, end-all of everything that Lauren Boebert, the dumbest politician in the United States of America. I think she's even dumber than Marjorie Taylor Greene, and that's a stretch. Just tweeted this last night. Joe Biden had 15 months to negotiate a peace deal and didn't do it. The peace deal announced today is the work of Donald J. Trump and his team. If Biden were able to pull off a peace deal, he'd have done it long before now. The world knows when Trump is in power, it's best to act right and let him lead. Oh my God. These people are in a damn cult. Trump had nothing to do with that peace deal. Nothing. Nothing at all. These people are out of their minds. I mean, that's a serious psychological disorder.
Apparently, there is some stuff behind the scenes that happened that way because there's an administration about to change and all that type of stuff. Apparently behind the scenes, we're on the tweet is that Trump has been telling Netanyahu, I'm the president that doesn't like war, so you need to do something.
Yeah, but he didn't do anything. He didn't negotiate.
But that's no, I know that. That's what I mean. Is he didn't. Like this, or if they did, he's talking about on the future, it's going to be like that, which he should not be doing anyway, because that's against the law.
Correct.
I think it's the against the Logan Act or something. Mm-hmm. But the U.S. never enforces it, so what's the point of having a law? But yes, in terms of the deals and all the structures and everything, that is all Biden, of course. With a huge assist, of course, from the Prime Minister of Qatar. Who's been very, very central into all this. He's been the person that's been going back and forth mostly between them. But yes, all that sort of structure and everything, because I mean, this has been going on for months until they get there. So yes, I mean, they're all turning around and going, oh my God, yes, Trump already did it. He said he would get it done before day one. It's like, no, I'm pretty sure that there's maybe some people knowing that the other guy is completely unstable and that whatever it is he promises or says is going to be the path forward today can change 10 seconds from now. And that's pretty bad partner with whom to prosecute a war.
Mm-hmm.
So, because, hey, who knows? Maybe one day Trump will want Benji to do him a favor, though, and Benji will say no. And all of a sudden, Trump is extolling the virtues of Iran. Because that's the kind of guy he is.
Oh, Trump's now saying it was his doing.
Oh, of course.
No. I'm serious.
The sun rises, it's his doing.
Look.
He's Trump.
Trump did it, as far as he's concerned. The epic ceasefire agreement could have only happened as a result of our historic victory in November. As a signal to the entire world that my administration would seek peace and negotiate deals to ensure the safety of all Americans and our allies. I am thrilled American and Israeli hostages will be returning home to be reunited with their families and loved ones. With this deal in place, my national security team, through the efforts of Special Envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, will continue to work closely with Israel and our allies to make sure Gaza never again becomes a terrorist safe haven. We will continue promoting peace through strength throughout the region as we build upon the momentum of this ceasefire to further expand the historic Abraham Accords. This is only the beginning of great things to come for America and indeed the world. We have achieved so much without even being in the White House. Just imagine all of the wonderful things that will happen when I return to the White House and my administration is fully confirmed so they can secure more victories for the United States of America. This guy is delusional. I don't. This is just. They handed over the most powerful military might in the world to a madman. He's a James Bond villain.
Mm-hmm.
He's a James Bond villain, for want of a better term. Please tell me, what else is he? What else could you call a man who takes credit for something he had nothing to do with? Megalomaniac James Bond villain.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Indeed. So we'll get back to that. But getting back to the first
coffee. I'll be back in a few minutes. I'm just beside myself right now. I need a breather and a coffee. I'll be back shortly.
All right. So back to the first ministers meeting with Daniel Smith and everyone. So we have everybody cooperating. She's going rogue. She is putting oil above party, above duty, above country. She doesn't care. she just doesn't care. So yeah, she says, why not focus on the concerns that Trump alleges he has while focusing more on buying Canadian goods? Now, of course, we should focus more on buying Canadian goods. In fact, this would be a perfect opportunity for the premiers to finally agree, after being asked for 30 damn years to do it, to remove the tariffs between the provinces. That would be a nice thing for you to do, given that someone is threatening to impose 25% tariffs on our international commerce with them, that you would remove tariffs within Canada to help make life more affordable and to make those tariffs, should they come, much easier to bear. That's something you could do, premiers. Just saying. Other premiers, however, like Ford, are proposing new alliances like a Fortress AmCan. For some reason, it was Fortress Can-Am, but then he went on US TV and started calling it Fortress AmCan, and now he's coming back to Canada and still calling it AmCam for some reason. Or he's been talking about an energy or a defense pact similar to the Auto Pact. But this also is just utter silliness, because this is being stated like we're living in a world in which any type of new alliance with someone who lies and refuses to be held accountable and refuses to stick to a deal is going to make a lick of difference. You have to put this in the overall context here, that the deal that we are revising now, that he wants to renegotiate, even though it's not supposed to be a renegotiation, but the deal that we are revising is a deal that he himself just a few years ago said was the best deal that was ever negotiated, or something like that. And it's his deal. But now it's terrible. There's no permanence. There's no permanence. There's not even a semblance of permanence. A deal is never a deal with this guy. A deal is a deal until something about the deal doesn't work in his favor, and then he claims unfair, and then he tries to sue you or tries to humiliate or embarrass you or do another thing to get you to renegotiate the deal that he misnegotiated for himself the first time. He's a terrible negotiator. Terrible negotiator. He's the person that you play cards with that keeps on putting down the wrong card and keeps on going, no, I want to take it back, like this. And you say, no, card laid, card played. And then they just like decide to take a baseball bat to your house. So you go, okay, card laid, card played. Jeez, fine, take it back, do another one. Because you value your house. So Doug Ford is saying, maybe if we had a new type of alliance, a new type of pact, or a free trade deal that excluded Mexico or something, maybe like. The problem is not the format and the structure of your deal. The problem is the person who you're dealing with. The problem is your interlocutor. Words mean nothing. Signatures mean nothing unless it's on an NDA. Sorry. Deals mean nothing. Nothing means nothing. That's his whole point. Nothing means nothing. Reality is whatever it is he says it is in the moment. Nothing means nothing. A paper you sign today has no worth tomorrow if he decides tomorrow he doesn't like you or he needs to distract. So it's not going to be by focusing more on what he claims today is a concern, even though the concern is completely invalid or not based in reality or not tethered to anything that we can see with our own eyes or hear with our own ears or smell with our nose, touch with our hands, taste with our mouth. And you got the other guy saying, maybe if we just had a different type of deal. Problem's the deal maker. These are not solutions. You just got to stand up to a bully. You just got to stand up to a bully. And standing up to a bully means it's going to hurt. The bully might land a couple of shots. You might get popped right in the nose a couple of times. You got to be ready to accept that you're going to get popped in the nose a couple of times and get back up if you're going to stand up to a bully. Standing up to a bully doesn't mean that you're throwing all the punches and then the bully goes, oh, goes out. The bully's going to try and and this guy south of us, everything's domination. Domination, humiliation, domination, humiliation. Destabilization. So, then there's another disagreement. Some premiers want to go all in right at the beginning. You're going to do this, boom, let's slap those things on. Let's hit hard and fast. And other ones want an escalating approach. Well, you're putting these tariffs in, so we'll put these ones, so we might not be one for one right at the beginning, but we're going to post some. Is that enough? None of that's going to be enough either. None of that's going to be enough. I don't know if throwing everything you got at them on the first thing so you have nothing left really to respond with is, in terms of maximum impact at first, it does, but it gives people more time to adjust to the worst possible case scenario. And, you then deny yourself the ability of announcing layered type retaliations in case something else happens in the news and you need another news day. So, for example, you might want to layer them out. I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference to him unless the pain is enough that some of the governors or House members or Senate members that he needs to get some of his bills through start annoying him, basically with requests that he ease up because it's hurting their people. Not that he cares about that, but if there's a bill he doesn't want to look like a loser on, maybe. But and that would sort of favor a bit of a harder and faster approach. Maybe not going 100% in, but maybe a solid 70 to 75 to start. Who knows? But those people who are in his ear all the time, when he's the type of person that listens to the last person who's in his ear, there have to be a lot of them saying this to him, that he's hearing it all the time. So maybe that requires making it hurt pretty seriously right from the get-go if you want them gone as fast as possible. Now, in this presser, Ford, without outright saying it, seemed to very, very, very heavily suggest that Danielle Smith was playing into Trump's hands and falling into his negotiating traps, which is kind of interesting. So there's not some unity among the premiers and the two premiers that are fighting for the spotlight in terms of who's the real leader of the conservative movement in Canada. And meanwhile, Pierre Poilievre is being incredibly quiet for someone who wants to be the prime minister of the nation. Apparently, on that, as it pertains to that, Pepe Le Poilievre has decided that today he will deign to come in front of a camera so that he may speak with at us again. So I think he will be doing that from British Columbia, if I'm not mistaken, and I believe it's around it'll be 9 p.m. Pacific time in the morning, so probably around noon here, that he will be doing that. Here, I got it right here. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, who, according to a social media feed, has spent the last few days on the pre-campaign hustings in British Columbia, will field questions from reporters in Delta, BC at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So the second time he will deign talk to us, hopefully now that he's had 7 days now to fully prepare or more. 7. Now, see, the prime minister stepped aside on Monday of last week. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now that he's had a full Scaramucci to prepare what he's going to say, and hopefully we've had enough days to forget the fact that he came out the first time with a whole bunch of flags and called everybody carbon tax something, and said he was still planning to campaign against Justin Trudeau no matter who they put up because everybody is Justin. Everybody's Justin. If you've ever seen that movie, Being John Malkovich, there's a scene where he's in a restaurant or something like this, and where he's in, and absolutely everybody in his world is John Malkovich. So I have a feeling that that's something like that. Pierre walks into a room and says, "You're Justin, and you're Justin, and you're Justin. Everybody gets a Justin." Ah. um, yeah. Since that moment didn't go out well for him, and it was pretty much universally banned. Like, even among conservative circles, they weren't that impressed with that one. So I'm guessing that this is supposed to be his take 2. So hopefully he has something other than Justin Trudeau bad to say to us today. Oh, and bring it home.
Yeah, bring it home.
Maybe today he'll actually have something meaningful and constructive to say about how we address the tariffs. And not a sort of like we need to talk to our American counterparts. Well, yeah, the prime minister asked you to do that a few weeks ago. You said you would, but you didn't. You didn't do it last night either. You had a $1,750 per person event.
Priorities, right?
Priorities. See, it's time to be on Team Canada, and Pierre Poilievre is not working the phones, and well, Danielle Smith is literally phoning it in and going rogue.
No,
Interesting.
No big surprise.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Unsurprising and yet still shocking. Right? I mean, it's like, think of it as high school, right? Person most likely to betray the country. We all knew who it was. We all know who the weakest link is in this country. It's her. And now she's proven it. And she's actively, publicly picked a side. And it's not Canada's. So I do not know what the solution is, but politically, somehow, she needs to be dealt with.
Well,
because this was not acceptable.
What do we do, though, is the question. I agree.
Like I said, I don't know. You would hope that in a situation like this, the UCP caucus would revolt. And use their caucus power, whatever it is that they have to try to get her to go. You would think that party brass, the president and whatnot, it's like, no, we can't have this. I'm sorry. Because you don't have to go right now, and we can make it look like it's something that you're doing for your family 6 or 7 months from now, but you got to go. Hey, this is not acceptable. This is not acceptable behavior. So we'll see what happens. But if someone wanted a divide and conquer strategy to put in place to operate in Canada, well, he's got one. He found his useful idiot. And not only did he find his useful idiot, she delivered herself to him. She ran down there and basically said, use me as you will.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's not what happened. I wasn't there, but it's sure the hell what it looks like right now. Because the timing of this is just a little too damn convenient. Just saying. Here I have the text that apparently was so offensive to Danielle Smith that she could not sign on to it. First Minister's statement on the Canada-United States relationship, January 15th, 2025, Ottawa, Ontario. Canada and the United States have the closest and most successful partnership in the world. At their meeting today, Canada's First Ministers reiterated that the two countries are stronger, more prosperous, and safer when they work together. I think Danielle Smith should be okay with that sentence. First Ministers discussed ways to protect Canadian families, workers, and employers from the consequences of possible U.S. tariffs, which would cause economic harm to Canadians and Americans alike. Trade and investment between Canada and the U.S. supports millions of jobs on both sides of the border and helps ensure the secure flow of goods and people between countries. They will continue to work together, standing up for Canadians in the face of unjustified and unreasonable U.S. tariffs. Collaborative efforts will continue to try to prevent U.S. tariffs, including actions taken by the federal government to strengthen border security and curb the flow of illicit drugs such as fentanyl into Canadian and American communities. And it would be nice if we had a couple of asks of the United States about the border.
You think?
You notice that all of us, we did all of this and we didn't ask. We didn't turn around and said, okay, we're willing to do that, but we have an issue with guns. And if you're going to deport like all these people that you say, a lot of them are going to try and come in. So we're happy to do for you, but what will you do for me lately? Ooh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't ask for anything. That was dumb. It's a negotiation. You asked for something too.
Well, I mean, she's got a statement that says no Ottawa tariffs on Alberta energy exports. Okay, sure. Yeah. Last I checked, it was the country of Canada that exports those.
Yeah, boo-boo kitty. You don't get a say. You get consulted, but you ultimately do not get a say.
I mean, just delusional. I have this full tweet from her from, when did she send this out?
I'm not done with the First Minister's statement.
No. We'll keep going. I'm just telling you what I have. Relax. I'm not going to read it out. Go.
The federal plan announced in December invests in cutting-edge technology, empowering law enforcement, and ensuring that only those eligible to remain in Canada do so. First Ministers agreed that the federal government, in collaboration with all orders of government, local police, and authorities, will continue to bolster security at the border and strengthen the immigration system. The plan must also include measures to tighten the visa issuance policy to prevent arrivals to Canada under false pretenses. Oh, so they are starting to make a couple of asks. Law enforcement across the country will work together to further build trust and confidence among U.S. decision makers that Canada takes its border responsibilities seriously and is taking action. And I'm sorry, but after 150 whatever something years, really? I guess if you guys are not convinced by now, if you guys still need us to prove that we still, again, Canada, what is this thing here? We need to further build trust. That's all we've done since we've existed. If they don't trust us yet, that's a them problem. It's not because we're not doing enough. Have a little self-esteem. I'd be sitting there and was like, what? You do us. You don't trust us. After all this time, with the record that we have, after all this time, the last 150, you've got nothing to go on, really. Okay. Why are we validating this? Why are we saying, yes, we need to prove ourselves? Why? These are ridiculous positions. First ministers agreed that enhancing security must be undertaken by authorities on both sides of the Canada-US border to stop the flow of illegal firearms. Oh, we're making a request. First ministers agreed to continue united advocacy efforts with key U.S. administration, congressional, and business leaders to emphasize the negative impacts of U.S. tariffs on American national interests and the U.S. economy. Cooperation with Canada offers significant complementary benefits to U.S. priorities. While they are making every effort to prevent U.S. tariffs, first ministers are committed to continuing to work together on a full range of measures to ensure a robust response to possible U.S. tariffs, including supports for sectors, businesses, and individuals. If the federal government implements retaliatory measures, it will ensure the rapid availability of substantial resources that effectively mitigate economic impacts to workers and businesses. This includes, but is not limited to, the distribution of revenues from potential retaliatory tariffs as quickly as possible. They agreed to take a collaborative approach to U.S. engagement that recognizes the unique economic needs of all provinces and territories. And there's just a little bit more on page 2 here. First ministers acknowledged the importance of increasing defense spending and meeting the NATO 2% target as quickly as possible, recognizing its critical connection to strategic infrastructure and Canada's economic and security partnership with the U.S. and other allies. They further agreed that collective action must be taken to safeguard Arctic security and sovereignty. First ministers agreed to advance development of high economic impact projects, including transportation and infrastructure projects, working in partnership with Indigenous peoples toward economic reconciliation. These projects support Canada's economic growth and allow Canada to provide the U.S. with more of the energy, critical minerals, and other goods and services it needs to fuel shared economic growth. First ministers will continue working closely together on Canada-U.S. relations and agreed to meet weekly following the President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration on January 20, 2025. First ministers agreed that Canada is a proud and sovereign nation committed to upholding its values and responsibilities on the global stage. As a strong, independent country, we make decisions that reflect the best interests of our citizens while actively contributing to global peace and stability. We stand firm in our resolve to protect our borders, support our communities, and collaborate with international partners to address common challenges. And then there's an asterisk at the bottom of this document that literally says the government of Alberta did not approve the joint statement between the government of Canada and the Council of Federation. I will hope that the reason is not because she did not agree with the other first ministers that Canada is a proud and sovereign nation committed to upholding its values and responsibilities on the global stage. Something she seemed unwilling to do. This is not good. This is not good. This is the first time ever in our history. Now, and people are going to turn, oh, what Quebec trying to secede? Quebec is an own culture, and some people in the province wanted to make a go of it. We developed a process that we would all consider legitimate, and we both agreed to be bound by the result, and everybody held their word. This is not that.
No. Well,
this is not that. This is a province openly defying every other major leader in this nation. And there was, I mean, Premier Canad was there, but there was no representative from any Indigenous organization.
No.
In this room at the time. And I'm sure that there's a lot of them that would have a huge problem as well.
Oh, yes, guaranteed.
With what Danielle Smith is doing right now. So, we have a problem.
Yes, we do.
I'm not sure how it gets resolved and what we can do, but we have a problem. And if I was a premier of another province, I would not be sharing any information with Danielle Smith about anything.
Zero. Zero. She does not
And
have
if
the
I was
interest
part
of this country at heart.
Nope. And she's got a direct conduit to Trump through Alexit to just blab everything and give intel. I would not share any information with her. And if I was our national security, like I would not share any information with her either.
She's borderline seditionist. That's my opinion, of course, which amounts to nothing. But this woman is out of her mind. There's an article here I've got from...
She has placed her loyalty to the oil barons above loyalty to her province, duty to the citizens of her province who duly elected her, and loyalty to the nation and our constitution and our sovereignty.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here's an article from our friend David Climenhaga. If Danielle Smith intends to defy a national consensus on how to respond to Donald Trump tariffs, she should call an election.
Yes. That's something for which you need a mandate. Doug Ford doesn't need a mandate to negotiate or to be, take a stronger position on tariffs. That's his job. When you're the leader of the province dealing with anything another leader throws at you that might affect your economy, that's your job. You don't need a special mandate for that. Deciding that, hey, everybody agrees that this is the way forward in face of an existential threat, but I'm going to go this way instead. Yeah, that's the type of thing you do hold an election on. Oh, yeah. And Mr. Grizzly, if you look it up, it would appear that the leader, if you don't have it, I have it, I can send it to you. But if you just look in the old Twitter there and in the search engine and just look up Nenshi, the first thing that comes up is a response from the leader of the opposition of Alberta, who I have a feeling is going to show us how it's supposed to be done, to provide us with a little compare and contrast moment with Miss Danny, who, by the way, recently, I don't know if I mentioned it, decided that the province was no longer paying for vision care for seniors and children.
They threw that out the window.
But by the way, and again, that tax cut is not coming again. So you feeling had yet, Alberta?
Well, here's
bait and switch, Danny.
Here's Nahid Nenshi's response.
Hi, I'm Nahid Nenshi, leader of Alberta's New Democrats, coming to you from Fort McMurray. This region is so important to Alberta and so important to Canada. It is, in fact, the part of Canada that relies on exports to the United States more than anywhere else in the country, which means that starting next week when President Trump is inaugurated, his threat of tariffs will hurt us all as Canadians, but will hurt this region even more. So we need a provincial government that's willing to stand up for Canada, to stand up for our sovereignty and to stand up for our economy. And I'm sorry to say, we have a premier who seems to be auditioning for a permanent job on Fox News, or maybe a permanent job as President Trump's press secretary, instead of standing up for workers and standing up for everyday Albertans. Today, as we're filming this, the premier refused to sign on to a joint statement with the other premiers in the federal government saying we will fight for Canada. Instead, she wants to fight for herself, not fight for working people. Look, folks, you can't play poker with your cards face up. You can't go to a used car lot and say, this is the car of my dreams, take my money now. And that seems to be this premier's negotiating strategy. I was actually happy when I saw that she went to Mar-a-Lago to meet with Trump. I thought good for her for getting that access. What did we get out of it? In her 2-minute meeting with the president, she complimented him, she talked about how great he was, and he told her that the tariffs are coming. She's not accomplishing anything. And at a desperate time like this, we need smart, grown-up government. We need an approach, a Team Canada approach, that looks out for the best interest of every Albertan, and we just don't have it today. So here's what we do need. We need a solid negotiating strategy, a unified negotiating strategy. We need a plan for Alberta for every contingency. So in short, if we tariff our oil and gas going to the US, how are we going to increase our export market capacity? You can't build a pipeline overnight, but can we do more oil by rail? Can we ensure that the Trans Mountain expansion, thank you Rachel Notley, is operating at full capacity towards export markets? We have a lot of serious work to do, and the Premier hasn't shown any interest in actually doing that work. So let's look at some of our other leaders From Jean Chrétien to Stephen Harper to Jason Kenney, to Doug Ford in Ontario, to Wob Canoe and David Eby in Manitoba and British Columbia, who were all saying it's time for us to fight for Canada. Danielle Smith, are you listening?
And I don't know if any of you lovely people had a chance to catch any of Doug Ford's comments yesterday. And again, you know how much I dislike the man, and we know how corrupt he is. But he is firmly on Team Canada. And there's no joking it. There's no hyperbole. There's no satire. He is firmly on Team Canada. I got to give credit where credit's due.
Now,
of course,
I am going to. I don't know if you have an image of the sartorial decision that Doug Ford, who admits he's not particularly a hat person, decided to bring. Now, yes, Doug Ford is saying and doing a lot of the right things. Now, of course, Kits and Cubs, friends of the show, I'm talking about you, Mr. Wallace, have indicated that there seems to be some type of activity on to make Doug Ford look more prime ministerial, and this certainly would be the type of thing with the words and the positions he's taken. But yes, he showed up with a baseball cap that said, "Mr. Grizzly,
Canada,
I got him as he was
for
taking
sale."
Okay, and everybody go, "Woo! That's the type of thing that we need. Way to go! Yay, Doug! Hey, I'm starting to like this, Doug." Cats and Cubs. Let us not let the fact that Doug Ford did a good trolling move here, which I think is brilliant. And yes, I would want one of those hats.
I
and it has 1867 on the side.
And
there's the message.
The Canadian flag on the other.
Yeah, there's the message, and then there's the messenger. Does anyone really believe, if you sit back and think about it for 5 seconds, that this man truly believes Canada is not for sale?
Look, he'd sell off every little bit of her if he could. I mean, he sold off Ontario Place. He tried to sell off the Greenbelt, and that backfired. He's going to sell off the Ontario Science Centre after he knocks the building to the ground, which was designed to last for 350 years. Because it needs a new roof. So let's just knock it to the ground.
Service Ontario, his $100 million contract to Elon Musk, Starlink.
Yeah.
You might want to get out. You might want to cancel that one. Yeah. You might want to cancel that one, Doug. That Starlink contract, if Canada's not for sale. So if the person wearing that cap hadn't spent the entirety of his time in leadership carving off pieces of Canada for sale.
Right. And he has been. He's been doing that all along.
So great message, terrible messenger, and I'll believe you mean that when you start doing it and it lasts. Honey.
Yes.
But he came out wearing it and everybody's, "Oh my God, Doug Ford. Wow, Doug Ford's great." He's getting pumped up just like someone said he would be. And Pierre has been absent and invisible and still licking his wounds from that disastrous press conference, while Doug Ford is out there. Because yesterday, during the press conference at one point, somebody noticed that they asked the Prime Minister, said something and the Prime Minister started, and then he just like, "Doug?" He just threw it to him because he knew Doug was going to do the bad cop thing. So it's like, yes, it sounds good. Yes, it looks good. Yes, but let us not forget, while all of us are doing that Canadian smugness, "Oh my God, we like this. The United States turned us back and we got a shot. We got a punch under kidneys, but with that cat, ha ha ha." Don't like this, boy. Whatever. Don't let nobody does smug and passive aggressive like a Canadian. Don't let the fact that we got a good clap back in distract you from the fact that the guy doing the clap back. Let's put it this way. Canada may not be for sale, but a lot of us believe that Doug Ford is.
Mm-hmm.
When he said Ontario is open for business, based on the fact that there's an RCMP investigation like this that involves like an international unit, it looks more like when he said Ontario, he meant I in that sentence.
I'm for sale. Yeah.
I'm open for business. And that looks very much like what Danielle Smith went to Mar-a-Lago to say.
Yeah.
Donald, I like you. I'm open for business. Let's make a deal. Again, I wasn't there. I have no fly on the wall. I can't tell. But from this end, that's what that looks like. You go down there for 2 days. You basically get 2 minutes of meeting. He tells you that what you came there for, you're not going to get.
Well,
and then you stay there. You still plan to go to the inauguration because you phone in a meeting here and you still won't sign on. You're still trying to get Daddy's approval. Look how far I'll go for you, Daddy.
Acted like the giddy schoolgirl who just got invited to the prom. This is what she had to say about this. I'll read this to you. I had a constructive discussion with my fellow premiers on how to best deal with the threat of tariffs from the incoming U.S. administration. We agreed on several strategies, and I look forward to continuing to work with them on this critical issue. However, federal government officials continue to publicly and privately float the idea of cutting off energy supply to the U.S. and imposing export tariffs on Alberta energy and other products to the United States. Until these threats cease, Alberta will not be able to fully support the federal government's plan in dealing with the threatened tariffs. Alberta will simply not agree to export tariffs on our energy or other products, nor do we support a ban on exports of these same products. We will take whatever actions are needed to protect the livelihoods of Albertans from such destructive federal policies. We also urge our entire nation to use this tariff threat as an opportunity to correct the misguided direction of this country and commence multiple infrastructure projects that focus on developing, upgrading, and exporting our oil, gas, and other natural resources, instead of effectively landlocking them and keeping us fully reliant on one primary customer. I will be traveling to Washington, D.C. this week for the inauguration and will be returning to the United States several times over the coming months to meet with U.S. lawmakers and officials to continue to make the case against the imposition of tariffs on Canadian products and to strengthen and grow the trading relationship between our two great independent nations. Okay, Daniel, you don't get to negotiate those things. You don't. It's federal. Mm-hmm. You're provincial. You're non-federal. You don't have the right, legally or otherwise, to do this. If the export tariffs are placed on them, there's nothing you can do about it. You can say as much as you want, this isn't going to happen, and stomp your feet and throw a temper tantrum and then spin around on the floor like a child who's freaking out, but there's not a damn thing you can do about it. Nothing. How do you not know this? How does she not know this?
Oh, she knows. She doesn't care.
She just likes to do what all those Reform Party stalwarts do, is lie. Lie through her teeth. Lie because she knows she can get people to believe her bullshit.
Yep.
This is just pathetic.
I know, man. So she said she had a very constructive meeting.
Mm-hmm.
To hear her speak it, Canada's facing an existential crisis, right? Mm-hmm. There might be taxes on her oil and oh my God. But she, again, literally phones it in and was alone in not signing the joint communique. How constructive could the discussion have been? And if it was constructive for whom? Danielle, if you found it constructive, but you emerged from it not signing the communique, in what way, Premier Smith? And please do not be afraid to be specific. Was this meeting constructive to you? Because everybody agreed on something but you. So clearly, the thing that was constructive was not the agreement for you. Did you get some information that you can bring back with which you think you could elevate yourself? Did all the premiers, even Scott Moe, saying that they don't agree to this? Did Doug Ford basically doing everything but call you out really specifically? But he very, very heavily suggested you were. Is that the next battle you need? You need a new boogeyman because Justin's going, so you need to fight Doug? No, but like, what is it, Daniel? What was it about that meeting that was constructive for you? Because everybody else found it a constructive meeting because they were able to agree and sign on to something. That's clearly not what you found constructive. I'm curious what she thinks she got from that meeting that would help her. Would love someone to ask her. It's amazing when you take some time and actually think things through with some logic. Where all of a sudden the question, the killer question to be asked, just reveals itself. I'd be sitting there, it's like, you said it was a constructive meeting, but clearly you didn't sign on to it, so that's not what you found constructive. What was it? And how will you use it? Microphone. I'm just, again, you have to, with these people, you have to be very specific with your question. You have to have really thought it through because they will slip and slide and skate. All right. So that is the meeting, and that's where things stand. We'll see if there's going to be any additional fallout. There should be additional fallout as a result of this. But we'll see. But like I said, right now, our situation, our nation not only has a threat from without, but has one from within.
Yes, the calls are coming from inside the house.
At least one now. And they've actively declared themselves to be one, and it seems that they're proud to be one. Okay. That's as you say, Mr. Grizzly, that's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see how it works out for you.
Yeah. Well, so
you got anything, sir?
Yeah, I got a few things here. This one I think is hilarious. You want to talk about reaching, like really reaching to try and make something not a thing when it actually is. That show from 2008 on cable television, which no one under 35 watches. Chris Seeley, Mark Carney on The Daily Show. Why? National Post, trying to make something irrelevant because you want it to be doesn't make it irrelevant. It doesn't. It's a nice reach, and it's a good try because your GOP hedge fund, right-wing evangelical Christian overlords told you to write that bullshit because that's what it is. It's bullshit. There are millions of people who watch that. 1.2 million have watched it on YouTube. There are 71 million paid subscribers to Paramount Plus where it shows. If 10% of those watched it, that's bigger than you'd ever get for an audience in this country. And you got to remember, it was a casual sit down. Just a conversation. Less of an interview than more of two fellows sharing an exchange of ideas. You know, in a comfortable climate, in a safe space, if you will. It's funny about how the Khans had not a single negative word to say about Jordan Peterson and his sit down with Pierre Poilievre. Sponsored by an anti-choice American company that bragged during the interview, in the ad, bragged about a woman with 8 children who didn't want to have a 9th, and they talked her into it.
Yep.
But that's okay, right?
Right. And for the person that made that comment, About 25 of the 40 million people in Canada are
Mhm.
35 and older.
Yes.
And they're in their higher and will be in their higher earning years and own houses and pay taxes and have cars and are interested in things that the federal government do. They have kids that they put in daycare and stuff. So, yeah, they're just because you want it, as Mr. was like, just because you want it to be relevant, don't mean that it
Mhm.
is.
Exactly.
Yep, that's a good catch, Mr. Grizzly. Here,
Thank you.
uh,
I have a clip here I want to show
yes,
you about Midas Touch talking about Danielle Smith
yes.
and her stupidity. It's 2 minutes and 19 seconds of, let's call it a beatdown. I don't know what.
A Trump-loving leader in Canada just got a rude awakening after taking the pilgrimage of shame to Mar-a-Lago to try to appease Donald Trump. I'm talking about the premier of Alberta. Her name is Danielle Smith. She spent her taxpayer dollars going to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring. You see her here with far right-wing podcaster Jordan Peterson and Kevin O'Leary at Mar-a-Lago. That's what she was doing. And she wanted to deliver a message. Donald, you need us in Alberta. Why don't we all just team up and go after Mexico? And why don't we form a special relationship with Alberta? It should be noted Danielle Smith is from the Conservative Party, and she's often been referred to as Maple MAGA. We've covered her before and her ridiculous appeasement of Donald Trump. Not only did she leave Mar-a-Lago empty-handed, but Donald Trump just utterly disrespected her. After meeting with Donald Trump in Mar-a-Lago, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith says that Canada needs to be prepared for 25% tariffs starting on January 20th on all U.S.-bound products, including on crude oil. She says, quote, "I'm not expecting any exemptions," she told reporters. What this basically means is that the price of oil is going to go up significantly, a massive jolt on the way as a result of Donald Trump's tariffs. This is going to impact the price at the pump here in the United States, and it is going to lead to a cascading effect of retaliatory tariffs. Great work there, Danielle Smith, for going there, kissing the ring, and then being told there will be no exemptions. Alberta's going to be included. And also great work, at least in my opinion, making a fool of yourself, trying to divide and conquer by trying to cut some deal with Donald.
I thought that was pretty funny myself. I mean, come on.
It's pretty good.
Oh,
I've got a couple.
God, you've got to be kidding me.
What?
Some of Donald Trump's supporters have called for the Los Angeles Olympic Games to be moved to a, in quotes, red city.
Why? I don't like the Olympics. The Olympics is like stands against everything they stand for, except for a big show and opportunity for publicity and cameras and celebrity. Yes, but countries working together for the advancement of humankind to reach the summit of human. They're not about that. They're not about faster, higher, stronger. They're about dodgier, stingier, and shadier.
Yeah. I think that's hilarious.
I mean,
the thing
if it was the Republican Olympics, yes, it's the Republican Olympics, like the backstabbing events, synchronized backstabbing would be like fantastic. It's a team flying off the handle.
I just can't some days. It's like, what are you? How? What?
The famous track and field event of jumping to conclusions.
Yeah.
If it was the Republican Olympics, sure. The regular Olympics, you do realize that the Olympics bring brown and black people into the country, right? Republicans. You sure you're okay with that? You sure you want that going into a red district?
And they
Really?
bring out individuals from nations that, what was it Donald Trump described them as? What, shithole countries, I think.
Shithole.
Yeah.
Oh my
Of
God.
course, one of the other things that I read about yesterday, Trump says he wants to create an external revenue agency to collect tariff income. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said on Wednesday, U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's plan to set up a new government agency to collect tariffs would duplicate an existing agency and was unlikely to save money. But it has to be his idea.
Small government, no bureaucracies. So they've got the dodgy efficiency thing that needed 2 directors to be efficient. And now they've got an agency particularly to collect these tariffs because the United States never charges tariffs in other ways ever before and didn't already have an agency for that.
Never happened. Never happened. Wasn't me. Wasn't me.
Okay. I sent you a little something, Mr. Grizzly, in your inbox.
Yeah, I have it.
A little clip of the minister's meeting.
Is there a start time?
Yes, I did. I think I put it in there, 6:24 or something.
Did you? Maybe I did. Oh yeah, sorry, it's down the bottom, 6:47. Yeah,
6:47. Okay, so I'm picking a couple of clips for you there. This one is interesting because it has a question for the Prime Minister. Well, it has a question that gets thrown to Scott Moe, who, oddly enough, is breaking from Danielle Smith, which he never do. Like, these two are the Bobbsey twins here. So it's kind of interesting. And then it's followed by a question about Prime Minister Trudeau's political future that you should probably hear the answer to.
Well, all righty.
Not exclude anything.
Hello, Mr. Trudeau. Global News. Do you regret not resigning sooner to allow your predecessor the opportunity to be able to deal with the situation with the Americans sooner? And for the premiers as well. Ms. Smith, I don't know if you're here, but Mr. Moe, do you think Mr. Trudeau's lame duck status makes Canada's ability to negotiate with the Americans more difficult?
The experience Canada had in renegotiating NAFTA in the first Trump administration demonstrated that when we stand together united, promoting Canada's interests, we can do very well, even against a larger trading partner. And that is the focus we have right now. Yes, the Liberal Party is having discussions about its next leader. But right now, our entire focus, and the ministers with me, and indeed all the premiers, is on making sure that we're protecting Canadians every step of the way. That's the job I was elected to do back in 2021, and that's the job I will continue to do until the day at which I am no longer doing it. But right now, my entire focus is on standing up for Canada and protecting Canadians.
Saskatchewan's been silenced again. A comment with respect to, at times, we are going to have differences in policy, whether that be at the subnational level between premiers up here, whether it be through from different provinces with the federal government. And I've never made any secret with respect to where we have differed on policy with the federal Liberal government and the Prime Minister at times, and been very open with Saskatchewan's position on those policies. Maybe that's why I probably could exclude myself today from entering the Liberal leadership race over the course of the next while. That, and I'm not bilingual. But more broadly, and I would say, thank you to Premier Ford and to the Prime Minister for coming together here today. To have a very different discussion about those policies where we might not agree, but to have a discussion on how we move forward on what is a very significant challenge, not only to the folks that live in Saskatchewan, but to all Canadians. And there are points in this where, we may have disagreements, but Canadians can be thankful that their 13 premiers, the Prime Minister, and a few federal ministers are coming together not only to hash out and work through what those differences might be, but to understand where we can come together and what the process is over the next number of days and then up to the inauguration, and what our options might be post that inauguration period of time. This is our largest ally that we were talking about, and it's our largest trading partner. It's our most significant trading partner. That's not to say that we haven't had trade tariff disputes with the U.S. or other countries previously. And there is we've been through this before, maybe not as large and broad as what is being talked about now, but we have been through this before. And there is a process to the work that we must do. And I would say that today, that process involves each of us, whether we be a subnational leader or a part of the federal government today or months ahead, whoever that might be, is to ensure that North Americans are aware of the impact that these U.S. tariffs will have on all North Americans, in particular on Americans, and to ensure that everyone is aware, in particular those in the sphere of policy and decision makers in the U.S. are aware of the advantages that we have with the integration of the North American economy and the threat that any type of tariffs, whether they be north or south of the border, bring to our energy security, our food security, the manufacturing security that we have. It's provided, and that value is added on both sides of the border, and we need to double down on our efforts in engaging on those fronts. There's agreement at this table on all of those points, and so we may have policy disagreements from time to time, but there's things that we agree on, and there's times when we do have to come together to represent what is in the best interest of all Canadians, and we in Saskatchewan, we continue to be Canadians.
Mr. Trudeau, do you plan on running in the next election? And if you don't, what are you going to do when you're not Prime Minister anymore?
First of all, I want to thank Scott for that answer. It's rare I get such support. But no, I do have to say that particularly those who've been a bit aroused in endangering your political fortunes by thanking you publicly. I do want to say that Scott and Doug and a number of the folks who've been around a while have been extraordinarily invaluable in these conversations, in this Team Canada approach. There's always a lot of politics going on around this country, but to know when to step up in the Canadian national interest and to know that that's what Canadians want to see is really is to the credit of everyone around this table. In terms of my own decisions, I will not be running in the upcoming election. As to what I might be doing later, I honestly haven't had much time to think about that at all. I am entirely focused on doing the job that Canadians elected me to do in an extraordinarily pivotal time right now. The U.S. inauguration and the weeks that follow are something that is of deep, deep importance to Canadians, and we are entirely focused on that as a team.
All right, there you go, Mr. Weasley. Now, you will notice there was a very deft dig by the Prime Minister when he spoke of Scott Moe and Doug Ford and premiers that have been here for a while.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Premiers who actually know what the job of premier is and when to take a day off.
Well,
I would like you to go now to 12. And here's the thing, too, right? There was some humor there, right? It's like, for all the antagonism that we see on TV, the performative thing, right? It's like Prime Minister, it's like, well, it's like I won't sing your praises too much because I don't want to affect your electoral chances by being associated with somebody saying that Trudeau once praised you. You're evil. So you get these people don't hate each other as much as their clips indicate.
Would suggest, yeah.
Yes. Go to 1224, Mr. Grizzly. There's a little interesting bit here with Doug Ford doing. There's some play here between the Prime Minister and Doug Ford back and forth as you see the taking over for each other on the answers, and they seem to have a rather natural flow, actually, which is kind of interesting.
Shit. Seem to have lost it. Where the hell did it go? I've lost it. Yeah, resend it if you could. I don't know where the hell it went.
Oh, okay. No worries.
That was
I
weird.
got it right here for you.
It was there and now it's gone. I don't know what the hell happened.
That's all right. Right there. Shipped to you. There you go. So yeah, around timestamp 12:24 here, and you will see the interplay. I don't think it's the scene specifically where I said where the prime minister is starting to answer a question and then just turns around and goes, Doug. But you can see that there's a flow, that they're like one person says something and they build on each other.
Mm-hmm. The shit should come up here in a second. I don't know why it keeps
And it goes to
defaulting
about
that.
16 and a half, Mr. Grizzly.
All right, here we go.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Next question.
Hi, Kat Tunney from CBC. A question for Premier Ford as chair. Just looking for a vibe check. Do you agree? How much do you agree or disagree with the government's plan to address the tariffs? And should we read into the fact that Premier Smith is not here as a sign that you're not all on the same page?
Well, first of all, I think we're united in a message. If we had our choice, we'd have no tariffs. I've been out there promoting two great countries. We'd be the strongest country, the richest country, the safest country in the entire world. I believe in shipping, in our case, more great nickel, world-class nickel down there. I believe that we should be sending more energy, more electricity. Sorry, but when you have someone that's attacking our country, trying to take livelihoods off people, I'm going to fight like you've never seen before. So that's what I believe in. Sorry, I'm choking away here. Go ahead.
Well, if there are any dissenting views, I'm happy to or interested in hearing those as well. My next question is for, did you want to continue?
I will point out that Danielle did join us for the conversation and contributed significantly. She was unable to make it for the press conference. David Eby is here as well. But no, there will always be robust discussions around this table. Everyone has a job that is defending the interests of their own constituents, their own industry, as standing up for the national interest, but being able to come together on a consensus, that has largely been supported, as you saw from the KK. This is a good thing. Okay, évidemment, on a toujours.
Okay.
Of course, we always have a robust discussion.
So that
One for some reason.
yeah, I didn't know, but I forgot there was a translation portion in there. So you won't get to see the dynamic that I was talking to you about in that clip. But I've got another one for you that will be there. If you can go, where are we in the timestamp in that?
1442.
Okay.
I just went past the francophone part.
Okay, then continue from that point then.
Yes, because Doug pops up here in a sec.
Yeah.
So just a second here. Yeah. Why does it keep defaulting to that when this is the one I want? It's weird. I don't understand it.
That are very positive and
You were mentioning, is there
statement that is agreed on by most of us.
three political parties sitting down and we have a robust conversation. We may agree or disagree, but we're coming out united. I can tell you, spending a lot of time in the US, you would never see a group of Democrats and Republicans sitting here collaboratively. I promise you one thing, around President Trump's office, a whole bunch of Democrats and Republicans saying, how can we attack Canada? It's not happening. We have the greatest country. We have the greatest elected officials, the greatest democracy in the world, that we can sit here from one extreme to the other extreme to in the middle. And I have always said, I don't care about political stripes. I don't care if you're from the orange party, the blue party, or the red party. We're going to be united. We're Canadian. We're going to get this done.
As a follow-up to the Prime Minister, is Ottawa considering any supports for industries and businesses that might get caught up in a tariff dispute?
Yes, absolutely. We know that in any response we give, some industries or some sectors might be more exposed or more affected than others. And we've made the commitment to do everything we can. And I know everyone around the table has agreed too, that if their region is less impacted, they'll do what they can to help out regions that are more impacted. This is not an attack on, or this is not a potential a challenge for one particular segment of our economy or one particular region in this country. This is an attack or an approach that endangers all Canadians and all of Canada. And on this one, we're all standing united in demonstrating that Canada speaks with a clear voice to defend the interests.
Okay, there, stop there. Okay, now the next one I want you to go to is 2057, because here we have the Premier of Yukon Territory, who will be speaking. Rarely gets any press time. But he's one of the people, when I did the year-end review last year and this past year, that I highlighted as a premier that we should be watching, because he doesn't get a lot of opportunities and a lot of time. But every time he does, he's serious, acquits himself very well, and contributes constructive things. So I was very happy that that he took an opportunity to speak here. So kids and cubs, for those who are not familiar, this is the Premier of Yukon Territory, Raj Pillai.
Blueprint about whose roles, who does what, who's in charge of what. Following today's meeting, do you feel, have sense of that, of what roles are supposed to be done by everybody?
Yeah, I think that actually, just as that question came up and thinking about what was laid out today, I think everybody, look, I'll use a hockey analogy. I think when you talk about Team Canada, everybody can score goals in different ways. I think the key is that everybody is actually has a blueprint about what we are going to message. I think there was good strategy laid out, and I feel very good. Part of the goal here was to wake up tomorrow and understand what the role was as a premier, how we interact, how our levels of government will work together to make sure that we align, and as things become elevated, if they do, depending on what happens on the 20th, we have a clear understanding of how we'll work together and understand how each person's tools they put on the table can interact or can affect other jurisdictions, but at the same time, how they can be most effective. So I'm very happy with what I heard today.
So there we go. We can stop that there. So again, right? Composed, substance. It's, a thing I've been saying on the show often is our premiers are the problem. I'd like to exclude our 3 territorial premiers from that, because they seem to be doing rather well from that. The other timestamp I wanted to bring you to was 2710. This one goes for a little bit, and it's interesting because here you will see a little bit of play between the Prime Minister and Doug Ford, but you will also hear from Canada's favorite premier, Mr. Wab Kinew.
And I understand Danielle Smith has posted online her sort of reaction to this and why she didn't sign the communique, saying she can't support what's going on today because the idea is still being floated about putting an export tariff on our oil and gas. So what's your reaction to that? Why were you unable to bring her on board with this?
Well, that's what's unique about our group. Everyone has their interest at heart, and I respect Premier Smith. I respect that she's concerned about protecting her energy, and that's her choice. That is her choice. But I have a little different theory. I have a different theory that protect your jurisdiction, but country comes first. Canada's a priority. And I don't believe in jeopardizing one sector or another. Premier Smith's oil is Ontario's auto sector, right? So again, we all have different views, and we can respect each other's views. But at the end of the day, when the tariffs come, it's going to affect Albertans. It's going to affect people from BC and Saskatchewan and Manitoba, Ontario, Quebec, all the way down the road. No one's exempt from that. And all I believe in, if it comes to that, let's have the tools in our toolbox to react, to send a strong message. But it's not going to be all of a sudden one province or one territory is exempt on this. When Donald Trump comes at us, he's not going to say, well, let's not worry about Ontario. They're good people, or Alberta. He's coming full tilt at Canadians as a whole. And that's one thing we have to understand. We need to be united. Donald Trump is a brilliant negotiator. That's what he's done his whole life. That's exactly what he's done. And he's sitting there with a big smile on his face thinking, wow, I'm going to divide and conquer.
Yep.
Remember one thing, united we stand, divided we fall. We need to be united.
Can I jump in there?
Just a sec. Well, I'll pass over to you in a sec. I just want to point out something in what Doug Ford just said. Doug, the incoming American president specifically and has explicitly targeted one industry in Canada, one sector of the economy, and it's not the Alberta oil industry. It's the Ontario auto sector.
Mm-hmm.
It's an auto pact that has been incredibly successful for 50 years in building cars on both sides of the border that benefits both Canadians and Americans. That's the target. But you don't hear Doug saying, oh, no matter what, we got to protect the auto. Yes, he does say that, but it's not at the expense of everything else. He's just pointed out that he's a Canadian first, as much as he's passionate about Ontario. And I think that's something that we all share across this table of saying, you know what, the interest of this country means we're going to have to look at everything we can, and we'll make sure that it's fair across the country, but nothing can be off the table if the U.S. continues to choose to move forward with these punishing tariffs on both Canadians and Americans. Sorry.
Okay, let's pause there for a second. Okay. So again, Doug Ford is pretty much calling Danielle Smith un-Canadian.
Yeah, he did.
And unpatriotic there. You are not putting country. And then the Prime Minister, you will notice in the previous response, right, when he was asked about Danielle Smith, well, Danielle Smith I want to be sure that you know that Danielle Smith participated by phone, so did Premier Eby, and she was, she contributed a lot. So he's being gracious while she's sticking the knife in him.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but Prime Minister can throw some shade too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doug Ford said, it says, I could do the thing with the auto sector, and it's true, he could do it. Doug Ford could be taking the exact same position Danielle Smith is with regard to the auto sector, but he's not, because he's Canadian first. Prime Minister said, as is the case for all of us at this table.
Yeah, a little subtle. It's a bit of a dog whistle to catch up on that. It is a dog whistle, right?
Shade. Throwing shade. Who knew that Doug Ford could throw shade?
Well,
Doug Ford.
He would know. He knows.
I'm just saying, attend one pride parade. Your shade ability will skyrocket. I tell you, make a few friends. Okay, now we get to Mr. Canoe.
Americans. Sorry, Wap, didn't mean to.
Yeah, no, thanks for convening the meeting today, Prime Minister. And Doug Ford, you're doing a heck of a job as the chair of the premiers this year. You're communicating in a straightforward, direct, straight up kind of way that we need right now. And great hat. I hope they make that in an orange as well. Maybe able to wear that in the prairies.
I'll pass on the red one.
Yeah. I wasn't going to make the red hat joke, but Prime Minister, you made it. What I did want to say is that there is unity amongst the premiers of the provinces, the territories, the federal government. And where we have unity is that we're going to stand up for your jobs and we're going to make your life more affordable. We want to keep standing up for our economy. And we're also united on the fact that Trump's tariff tax is going to make life more expensive in the United States of America for the average American person. So I'd hope that Canadians look at the meeting today and feel a lot of pride. I hope that there's Canadian pride in the fact that you can have liberals and conservatives and New Democrats and nonpartisan leaders coming together to stand up for your jobs and for your way of life. And I hope that that sense of pride that we have at Canada with a functioning political discourse like that spills out into the broader society, so that when you go to the store, that Canadian pride leads you to buy that made in Canada product. That when you make your big decisions, that you choose to make investments here. We need a national economic strategy that builds on the pride of the worker who builds things and makes things in this country, so that our kids and our grandkids are going to have a much more prosperous, even more prosperous Canada than we have today. And I'd hope that your Canadian pride also filters into your decisions about where to take your vacations this summer.
and to, spend some more dollars here at home. Manitoba is beautiful. In the summertime, you have an open invitation, and now we're all going to trip over each other, inviting everybody to the respective regions. Winnipeg Jets may be on a playoff run.
Okay, come on, Wap.
But the point is, Canadian pride is something that we can really lean on right now. And there are a few things that unite Canadians more, for better and for worse, than our neighbor to the south. And so right now, as you see leaders coming together, I think it's a great moment for
You were muted, sir.
There we go. That's better. So there, kids and cubs. Those are highlights from the press conference that they had. Little shade. Again, I don't know what it is about Wap Canoe, man. So he just comes on the screen and I get happy. He's got this sense of joy. I mean, you can see him like in his face, right? It's like they're talking about the most serious thing like this, but he's just so happy to be there to talk about serious shit. But he's happy to be there. Like, you see other people, they're like, they look like a little very serious. He's the guy that's just happy to be invited to the party, I tell you. Oh, by the way, yes, Mr. Grizzly, we got some live cam footage of Danielle Smith's negotiating strategy with Trump.
That is it.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Hi, Kevin O'Leary, President-elect Trump. Mr. President, here's Danielle Smith, Premier of Alberta. Because then you hear somebody in the back, show me your... That's how I imagine it went down. It's like, okay. Because I don't... Man. Every time I think she possibly cannot surprise me by going lower.
Yeah, she does.
She does. And while I am always surprised, I am never shocked. Yeah. It's like she did what? Mm-hmm. Oh well, yeah, that totally tracks. It's literally it's not like she did what? Oh my god, I can't believe it. It's like she did what? Oh yeah, that sounds like her. I just wow. There are no words. There are no words. Again, let's see how it plays out. Now, there's a couple of little other things that happened in the world other than Danielle Smith deciding that she wanted to wear the scarlet letter. Oh my word. Just unbelievable. Mark Carney is expected to launch his campaign for the Liberal leadership today from Edmonton, a province in which the federal Liberals currently have 2 MPs, one of them being Randy Boissonneau, who's in a bit of hot water right now, and the other one being George Chahal, who was in a bit of hot water during the time he was campaigning. So Mr. Carney doesn't have much to pick from when he's going, but George Chahal has certainly decided that he is a big Carney booster. I'm wondering if that has anything to do. Let me put it this way. When I was in grade 6, sorry, let's go back. When I was in grade 4, I did it at one school, and then we moved to another school for grade 5, and that school was only open for 1 year, but it was in a completely other neighborhood town. So we were like the Jeffersons for a bit. We moved on up.
Mm-hmm.
So we moved on up to a nicer neighborhood where kids had polo shirts and Benetton and Club Monaco, and their parents took them skiing in Vermont and Vail for Christmas and March break. That's and they would get a car automatically when they're 16, and that's not the world I came from whatsoever. So I stood out like a sore thumb, and I got teased and taunted a lot. And grade 5 was a terrible, terrible year. I made one friend, the guy in class who happened to figure skate. Okay, that's how bad grade 5 was. Fortunately, that school was only open for one last year before they shut it down, and we went to another one. And when we got to the other school, on the first day of school, I went to talk to everybody at the new school who did not know me from the old school and made friends really quickly. Before the friends at the old, well, not the friends, before the people at the old school had time to talk to the new friends and ruin my reputation. It looks like George Sahal is really trying to cozy up to the new leader who's been unencumbered by his past. Because Bussa knows out, and hey, Mr. Carney, maybe if you become leader and name a new cabinet, you might name me. Because I didn't take literature from opponents off the porch while you were leader. How about it, huh? Hey, points to you for trying, George. Points to you for trying. It's a little transparent, but points to you for trying. So yes, trying to butter up the new boss that hasn't been negatively affected by his past behavior. Karina Gould was also expected to announce today. I don't know if she is still going to announce today, given that even if she did, all the wind would be sucked out of it by Mark Carney, which is a little bit of a dick move in a way, given that she had already stated in the press that she was planning to go today. And you did have Friday. The week's not out. Chrystia Freeland says that she is expected to announce before Monday. Chrystia Freeland, thus creating a situation where a lot is going to be expected, because if she reserves for herself the privilege of going last, of being last to make the first impression, it had better be one hell of a first impression. That's the thing. If you take the benefit of going last and seeing what everybody else has done, that's okay. That's fair. You know what? We'll give it to you. That's strategy. But you better play that damn card. You better have one. So, and now, not that I doubt that Chrystia Freeland has one, because listen, put it this way. The time when she came in for her first swearing in as Minister of Finance, her kids were at the swearing in ceremony and they were doing homework.
You know,
she runs the ship.
There's an awful lot of people who are pissed at her.
Oh, yes.
I mean, pissed at her for what she did.
Yes. There's a bit of Jody Wilson-Raybould in it.
Yes, and people are not happy. And I'm reading a lot of stuff online. Now, what does that translate into 42 million Canadians? I have no idea.
Well, you see, if she was the alone front runner, like that, she had the full plank, I did him in, you want him gone, I did it, vote for me. But now that there's an enter Mark Carney.
Yeah, things are different. Things have changed. A lot of people see it as she stabbed the PM in the back. I don't particularly see it that way per se. I think she didn't stab him in the back as much as she sort of
stabbed him in the front.
Yeah.
She came from the front. She wasn't sneaky.
Yeah, no, that's just it, right?
I mean, and the Prime Minister did ask her by Zoom after everything she had done for him if she was like, come on.
There's some yin and yang there, right? Yeah.
Like he
didn't handle it well.
The reason we all cheer at the movie Waiting for Exhale when she lights the car on fire with all this stuff in it is because he had it coming. He had it coming. When she walks away from the car and like this, he had it coming.
Yeah.
It is wrong to take everything that belongs to someone, throw it in a car and light it on fire. That is criminal. But you are cheering because he had it coming.
He didn't handle it well. He didn't handle it well.
He did not handle it well.
Very poorly. And it's an X in the column for me. Like, no, dude, wrong way to go about doing it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So in that sense, yes, she did stab him, but she didn't stab him in the back. She came right from the front. He kind of had it coming, and a lot of people didn't think she had it in her.
True.
So that's what I mean. It's amazing how the narrative has different frames put on it. 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out, 1 month out from it happening. Right? But in the moment, like this, there were a couple of people that went like this, but in the moment, it was pretty much universally, yeah, she did it. Now it's, oh my God, maybe Trump is right. She is toxic.
It's just
that would be strategic coming to that realization, I would assume.
Well, I'm just seeing a comment here from Warren Kinsella that I find is interesting. This is, and I'd say this is an accurate and truthful statement, and I'll read it to you. Just a second here. I'm just trying to put the tab up. Not every Canadian conservative is a Trump fan, but every Canadian Trump fan is a conservative. Conservative. That's Poilievre's dilemma, and it's why he's been so quiet. How does he rebut Trump, as Stephen Harper did so well, without losing the MAGA North jerks who make up 25% of his base?
He can't do it. While he's trying to pivot to the center for the election. He's got so many loyal. This man, by the time it's over, is going to be drawn and quartered, politically speaking, by all the various factions that believe he's their guy. Because he very loudly and emphatically told them that he is their guy when he was doing all those videos. And smugging and smarming for the camera. But at some point, again, eventually, the bill comes due. He's written a lot of IOUs.
Well, here's an interesting statement in response to Warren Kinsella's tweet. I'm not going to say this person's name because there will be a pile-on, and I don't agree with doing that. She's allowed to say what she says. She says, I disagree with your first sentence, Warren. I am a liberal, and was, until his BS retaking over other countries. A Trump fan for the positive changes he was committed to for his own country. No more, by the way. Wait, what positive changes to his country?
Who knows?
I really want to know what would those be? Because Project 2025 is only positive if you are mouth breathing.
Somebody who wrote it.
Well, there's nothing positive about Project 2025 unless you want to enslave people. Unless you believe that The Handmaid's Tale is a guidebook.
Mr.
I got one
Grizzly.
other thing, and then I got to go, sir.
Oh, sorry. Well, I've got one more thing that'll make you very happy before we go.
Okay, well, here, what I want to read to you right now, and this is Manitoba starts buying properties and plan to address homelessness.
Yes. We need more WOBs.
Manitoba Wob Canoe ready to forward with, hang on, where did it go? There we go. Tough, potentially unpopular policies in 2025. What does it say here? The NDP government has promised to eliminate chronic homelessness. People who are unhoused for several months or more in the next 7 years, a major part of the plan is to remove the estimated 700 people living in encampments. Starting in February, the government plans to hire people and partner with community agencies to designate enough available housing for everyone in an encampment. Approach the people in the encampment and get them to agree to leave within 30 days. The aim is to repeat the process, encampment by encampment, until the areas are clear. Some 300 residential units are expected to be newly available in the coming months. The government has hired Tessa Blakey Whitecloud, CEO at Siloam Mission, a charity that serves the unhoused, to quarterback the project. About $20 million will be spent over 2 years on the effort, in addition to other housing and mental health money laid out in the budget, Canoe said. Opening up new housing units owned by either the government or nonprofit agencies is key, Blakey Whitecloud said, as there is currently a severe shortage of deeply affordable housing. Some details of the plan remained unclear Tuesday, including the locations of the apartment buildings being purchased and whether removals from encampments would be strictly enforced. When asked how the province would ensure everyone leaves an encampment, Blakey Whitecloud said it would happen by making sure the housing being offered is the more attractive option. That could look like more congregate housing. It also can look like moving an entire encampment into housing together so they don't lose that sense of street family, she said. The government's strategy also promises that once an encampment is empty, it will be cleaned thoroughly and monitored in a way that will prevent new encampments from being set up. That means outreach workers will continue to visit the site and offer help to anyone setting up camp. The government is also promising more flex funding to help people get housing. That might mean a bus or plane ticket for someone in Winnipeg who needs to return to their home in another community, Canoe said. Winnipeg Mayor Scott Gillingham said the city will work with the province on the plan. Officials at Main Street Project, which operates a shelter and support center in Winnipeg, welcomed the initiative. We know from our work with marginalized people that housing needs to be tailored to the unique needs of the people accessing it, and that meaningful connections with people to support them on their housing journey is necessary for success, the charity said in a news release. The opposition Progressive Conservatives said the government's plan lacks details and does not acknowledge that there is a shortage of workers in the field. We have frontline workers who are working to the brink who need support, Carrie Hybert, Tory Housing. Carrie Hybert, Tory Housing Addictions and Homelessness, critic said. So my question would be, where are they going to be getting all these extra supports and staff to be running these programs? Well, I'm sure there's a plan for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's a plan for that.
I would hope there's a plan for that. All right, Mr. Grizzly, something that will make you happy. Very, very happy. Two little bits of thing, because it's find out time. Oh, Mr. Grizzly, please play your magical theme song.
Which one? Oh,
the magical music. We have good news.
Oh, hang on. I gotta find it.
Oh no.
Hang on. It's here somewhere.
Check by the lute and beside the tuba. Okay,
that one?
That one too. No. We could do that one too, though. Like this, but I meant the harp. I guess get the harp ready, Mr. Grizzly. But that's fine. But that works for this. The theme music did work for that. Mr. Grizzly, in find out news, because people fucked around. According to Global, one Alberta man has been sentenced to jail and another ordered to serve community time for their roles in the illegal Coutts border blockade in 2022. Here's a name that'll be familiar to you. Marco van Hugenbos.
Yes.
Was sentenced to 4 months in jail Friday, and Gerhard or George Jansen received a 3-month sentence, which is to be served in the community. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, not enough. Not enough. But
do you know whose sentencing is scheduled today?
Yes, that's the second part that I was going to get to the good news for you. So neither accused showed emotion, and spectators packing the courtroom stayed silent as Justice Keith Yamuchi delivered the sentence at Lethbridge Court of King's Bench. Yamuchi told the pair the illegal blockade affected the lives of many Canadians and said the sentence must make it clear that the majority of Canadians denounced their actions. They were convicted of mischief over $5,000 for their part in the blockade, which tied up cross-border traffic with the United States for 2 weeks to protest stuff related to COVID. A third man, Alex Van Herk, was to have been sentenced as well. However, his lawyer told the court on Thursday that he had been fired by the defendant. Van Herk was granted 30 days to find new legal representation so that he can find out what his sentence will be. And today, as Mr. Grizzly alluded, if we can have more harp, sir. Pat King is being sentenced today.
Scheduled today.
Scheduled
today.
To be sentenced today.
Yeah.
Who knows? He might fire his lawyer too. He was convicted of 5 criminal charges, including mischief and disobeying a court order. Now, the Crown seems to be very serious because the Crown has requested the maximum allowable penalty of 10 full years. In its ruling, the Ontario Superior Court found that King was, quote, not only along for the ride, saying that he led the convoy personally by directing activities and using his social media as a rallying tool to get truckers to either ignore honk bans, organize a slow roll near the Ottawa airport, and help to block Wellington Street. While he avoided 3 intimidation-related charges, and while Justice Charles Hackland noted King did not make violent threats or call for property damage, the justice still ruled that his leadership in the protest was criminal nonetheless. Now, King's lawyer, Natasha Calvino, argued that her client should not spend more time in jail because he has spent enough already. If he gets the full 10, he'll be spending some more time in jail. And in a sort of related note, remember that last January, the federal court ruled that the federal government's use of the Emergencies Act was unconstitutional in certain ways. We did a whole deep dive on that. And the federal government is, I didn't have this data, and I didn't hear, but it seems it came out before. The federal government is actually appealing that decision.
Yes. And you got to remember that the judge said what was important. All these people just, see, it was illegal. Like, no, hold on. There's nuance to that.
Yes.
He said it was necessary in Ottawa. He said it was absolutely necessary in Ottawa, and it was necessary in Windsor.
Yes.
And maybe even in Coots. But he says cross Canada? No. That
And he
was
said that
nuance.
Yeah. And he said that we needed new law for this particular type of situation because the CSIS Act doesn't cover it. And that's the only reason that he couldn't say that it was conform in that one. And then for all the other things, the one or two other things that were deemed unconstitutional, he said, but these things could be constitutional if you did it this way rather than the way you did. So as violations of the Constitution go, it's kind of mild. And he also said, and this is my opinion as a judge with the limited knowledge that I have of these matters as a federal court judge, there might be judges at a superior level that see it differently. And I could see how they could see it differently.
He also said, had he been in the room at the time that the decision was made, he would have went right along with it.
Yes.
He did say that.
Yes.
So the people go, see, we won. You didn't win a damn thing. You didn't win anything.
Exactly. But that's why we felt it was really important to go in there and like read the whole decision and go in section per section and bring you analysis and break it down. Because listen, we did like a 2-hour, I think at the end it was like a 2-hour podcast on what the whole thing is. You're not going to get that in a 3-minute soundbite, in a 3-minute news clip or 30-second soundbite.
And
this was important.
All the Freedom Convoy idiots went, see, we were right. It was illegal. It was like, no, you didn't listen. That's like saying, you're pretty stupid. You think I'm pretty.
Yeah.
That's all they heard was what they wanted to. They didn't read a damn thing. They just got the headline and that was it.
I know. And in that, we also learned how some of the people that managed to get standing lied to the court, were choosing to be duplicitous and evasive, even when they got their moment in court. And so it's like, there's one person that the justice turned around and says, yeah, okay, your time being a defendant or plaintiff in this one is done. We don't need to hear any more from you. You have no case. So, I mean, there was a lot more to learn from that. So I'm glad that we did that. But yes, I hopefully that which is scheduled for Mr. King goes ahead and we finally find out. And hopefully it's a big round number.
10.
Do we have a show?
We do indeed, sir.
All right. Kids and cubs, that's the end of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us because we're happy when you do that. Now, if you would like to make sure you do not miss an episode, especially of our podcast version, you don't have to, thanks to the Ray Girl who has sponsored our pod page. And if you're watching and you scan that QR code, or if you're listening and you go to podpage.com/thetruenortheagerbeaver, with hyphen between each one of those words, when you click subscribe, our audio version of the podcast comes directly to you. You don't have to go looking for it. We make it super easy. So there you go. Now, if you would like to help us out in other ways, for example, like making sure that the algorithm knows that we exist, then you need to surf yourself on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, where Kit Elaine and Kit Cassie are ushering you in and inviting you to click our buttons, like, share, and subscribe. Click 1, click 2, go wild, click 3. Hey, if you want to get a little greedy, we're good with that. Plus, it makes us very, very, very happy when you click our buttons. Now, if you would like to help us in yet another way, let's say maybe because, after you've covered your Christmas bills, you discovered, hey, I actually do have a little bit of coinage left, and let's put it to a good cause. Well, I'm a good cause. We're a good cause. How about there? Scan that QR code to which Mr. Grizzly just pointed. That will bring you to our coffee page. That's coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver all in one word. And there you will find the Emergency Hydration Fund here at the Beaver Lodge. Really, it's our tip jar, but we like a little whimsy. So if you could drop a little thing in there to let us know that you support us and you encourage us and you would like us to do more, that would be very appreciated. And thank you very much. Now, if you're not able to make a contribution, please do not worry, because the gifts of your attention and your participation are the ones that mean the most to us. And we love to hear from you. So please write to us. TrueNorthEagerBeaver@gmail.com is our email address. You can reach us at the Blue Sky Beaver Lodge, at True Eager, and also at True Eager at the Bad Place. We're still there. We do it so you don't have to. Send money. My trauma is real. My trauma is real. No, I'm kidding. But yes, we're still in the Bad Place, and of course, Facebook, our original site, and of course, if you're listening to us here on YouTube, please, we have the comments section over there. So let us know what you think and what's on your mind. We really actually do want to know, and we read everything, even though we're not able to necessarily respond to everything. Because democracy is something that you do, kids and cubs, you have until January 27th. That's 11 days to go to liberal.ca to register to vote in the leadership race. And even if you're not a liberal, as we mentioned it, if you want to make sure that the one party that is actually putting up a new candidate for prime minister puts up the best possible candidate, one that even you could vote for, even if you did not vote liberal, then buy a membership and make sure that your candidate of choice, after you listen to all of them, is the one that gets selected. It's your right. It's your right as a Canadian to make sure that the parties put the best possible field of candidates. So get your membership. It doesn't even cost anything in this case. And vote.
I have seen a lot of friends online been saying the exact same thing. They go, look, here's the thing. Once again, you do not have to support the Liberal Party to join the party to get the ability to cast a ballot as to who leads the party. You could be a right-wing conservative. You could be a right-wing evangelical Christian in quotes, conservative, and still sign up, become a member of the party to cast a ballot for whomever you think will make the next best candidate to lead that party. You have a direct say in who the next prime minister could be. Because once Justin Trudeau steps down, the leader of the party will become the next prime minister.
Yep. For however long.
For however long. But they will be. But they will be.
But they will be the candidate who will be going into the next election.
Correct.
And on whose platform you're going to be voting. As opposed to some people saying, hey, we should have gone with an interim. Who proposes a platform that doesn't mean anything because they're going to be changed and then a new leader comes in? No, you go with the leader that will actually deliver the platform. This is a smart thing to do.
One of the extremely rare occasions in this country when you actually get to cast a ballot for who you want to be prime minister. You're voting directly for the prime minister in this case. Yeah. Because unless you live in the riding of the party leader, you can't vote for that person. In this instance, you can sign up, get your Liberal Party membership, and cast a ballot. You have a direct say in who the next leader is. And we pushed that agenda during the Conservative campaign for the Conservative leader. And I agreed with it. I am not personally signing up because I said I would never be a member of a political party, and I never will. I'm not going to. That's my thing.
I'm all over that. Don't worry.
That's my thing. Right? And as a pseudo political pundit, I don't think I should. That's me personally. What you folks choose to do is up to you. But this gives you a chance to actually vote for the next Prime Minister of Canada, because they will be the Prime Minister for however long, we don't know, but you are actually casting a ballot for the next Prime Minister.
And Mr. Grizzly makes a good point. As a pseudo-political pundit, I shouldn't be either, except I do up to the other tack. I'm promiscuous. I'm politically promiscuous. I'll sign up for every party. I don't care. So you either do all of them or you do none of them if you have to be without conflict. But so I've chosen to do all of them.
And that's completely fine. I don't have an issue with that. Again, it's a free country.
But they are two approaches. They are two approaches, because normally, like the year that I was working at the polling station, like for 2 days. I think there was a 2-day period, like before the election or something like that, that I wasn't allowed to do the show live. So we had to like pre-record and stuff, and we were allowed to broadcast and stuff, but I wasn't allowed, or we had to broadcast about, we did 2 interviews on fluff stuff and not fluff stuff, but non-direct political stuff, human interest stuff instead. But because those were the rules. It's like, and so I mean, you follow the rules absolutely in that case. So, but yes, Mr. Grizzly is right. For example, you know, if you are a journalist, if you are a judge, that type of thing, usually they expect you not to have memberships, and some people don't even vote.
I know, because
in this case. Now,
Yes.
now that you can, and there's nothing wrong with you voting because you still are a citizen, so long as you don't publicize your vote and encourage people in campaign. All that. But some people go so far as wanting to avoid the semblance of conflict that they don't even vote.
And I understand that.
So,
I understand that. I vote in every election.
Yep.
I vote in every
But
election.
that's what I mean. So you can just, the point is to have a principle and to hold to it unless it needs to change for a reason. And if it does need to change for a reason, so you know what that reason is, so that when somebody asks you, why did you do that? You can say why. Yes. And so long as you have a good, solid story to tell, it's fine.
Exactly.
That's why we don't understand why Christy Clark lied.
There was no need to. The truth
She
would
had
have
a
been-
solid, good story to tell. The truth would have been good enough, and there would have been people that would have poo-pooed on it anyway, but they would have poo-pooed on anything she had to say. You're going for the overall majority, and the overall majority of people could understand you wanting to support a colleague that you worked with. So, I don't know, man. All right, Mr. Grizzly. Did we do the words of wisdom? No, because we were just democracy, something that you do. So words of wisdom.
When you have a migraine, like I have one coming on right now, my recommendation is you take 2 extra strength aspirin, get an ice pack and a blackout mask, and lie down on the couch, because I'm about to do that in 3 minutes for about 10 before I have to take Lola out, because she's probably freaking out right now. So looks like I'm going to have to take her out while my migraine comes on. So yeah, just go lie down. I don't really have words of wisdom. I'm just in a lot of pain right now, and I got a dozen lights on me. So let's get the hell out of here.
All right, Mr. Grizzly, do roll the. Why have I been saying roll the credits the past few days? Those of you who are looking for Mark Carney's thing, it'll probably be around 3 p.m. if you're looking online for it. Okay, Mr. Grizzly, please cue the cock. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music.
I'm in the dark in case you didn't notice.
Ooh.
I had to turn the lights out. It was too much for me.
All right. Have you got anything for the Easter egg, Mr.?
Oh, no, I thought you had something. I do actually have a headline. I have a headline.
Okay.
You can see how bright the monitor is. It just lit up the room a little bit.
Jeez.
Facebook message posted over a day before PM arrived said Big Shot and Entourage cut into lift lines. But in actuality, this is his ski vacation. PM, low-key and respectful. BC Ski Resort addresses misinformation over his ski vacation. The BC Ski Resort, where he holidayed with his family after Christmas, says it was disappointing to see what it describes as misinformation about the vacation shared widely on social media. In a brief email to CBC News, a representative for Red Mountain Resort said allegations started spreading prior to Trudeau's arrival, and once he did arrive, he was very low-key, respectful, and waited in line like everybody else.
Yep. And again, if we've seen this guy go ever since he's become an MP, is there anything about his demeanor and the way that he's treated people that would give you the impression that that report that they had about him cutting a line reflects the person we know him to be?
No, we all know that's horse shit.
We've seen no evidence of that anywhere in his career so far. It's just
Ever.
dumb.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention, Mr. Grizzly. All right, everyone, have a good day.
See ya.
A beaverific day.